Sorry, haven't had much of my caffeine today. All right, so here we go. Remember, as we always said before, we've talked about costs and benefits, right? Costs are what you give up, not necessarily money, right? But in this case, we're going to be talking about the money type of costs too. Benefits are what you get. We like benefits, right? We want to have more benefits than costs. That makes it a good decision for us. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about some costs today. We're going to do a little bit of math work. EAP, don't worry, not too much, just so you understand how we get to these costs. If I can do it, you can do it, okay? You can use a calculator. I mean, it's nothing too big. All right, so a variable cost now. A variable cost is a cost of production, and hopefully this is big enough for you all to see. It's a cost of production. Production is when we make stuff, right? When we make the goods or services, or, well, we can't make them, but we get training for that. Costs of production that change as output level changes, okay? So, for example, wages as you hire more people, okay? That's a variable cost. So now we're pretending that we own a firm, a business, a company. All those words are interchangeable, okay? A variable cost is a cost of production that changes as the amount of things I'm producing changes. Output level, fancy term. The stuff I'm making gets, the more stuff I make, those costs might be variable. The less stuff I make, okay? So for instance, I need to produce more. My output level is gonna go up. I'm making more things. I need to hire more employees to do my work, right? The wages I pay is a variable cost. It changes as I hire or fire more workers. Make sense? My variable cost for wages will go down if I have to lay off a bunch of people. Okay? Say you're a dog. If you are a doghouse builder, wood would be a variable cost. It fluctuates depending on how many dog houses you are hired to make, okay? So a variable, it changes, it varies, right? I don't know why I'm doing this with my arm. I'm a hand talker, okay? It changes. All right, so it varies. And remember, the varies are, remember that land, labor, and capital, right? Okay, maybe we need to buy more. We're running a printing press and our production of whatever paper flyers we're making is going up. We might have to buy more paper. We might have to buy another printing press if our business is growing. So those are all variable costs, okay? Now a fixed cost is gonna be the opposite of variable, everybody. Are you ready? It's a cost of production. And we're talking about producers here that doesn't change no matter the amount of output. You have to pay it no matter what. Okay, an example of that would be rent. Okay, if I have my doghouse building operation, let's say, and my doghouse is, I have this little shop that I rent, right? My rent stays the same no matter how many dog houses I make or how little dog houses I make. No one's saying, well, you're not working that much in that thing, so you don't have to pay that much rent. Not at all, okay? So rent is a fixed cost. It does not change. Unless for some reason, your rent goes up, but it doesn't change depending on the amount of output, the amount of what we're producing, okay? All right, for instance, your cost of, rent, I was gonna say, the cost of your tools, Your hammer's going to stay the same no matter what. But really, I like rent as one. When you have an apartment of your own someday, you'll have to pay things like utilities like water, electricity, things like that. Okay, your rent is going to be a fixed cost. All right, your water and your electricity will be variable costs, depending on how much water and electricity you use. Hey, gentlemen, come on in. I know the weather is sucky. Don't worry about that. So if you get a chance, we're in Google Classroom. We're on Unit 3, Terms to Know. And these are up here. And I'm also taping this, so I'll put a video of myself. How exciting. Maybe you watch those when you're tired and want to fall asleep. I don't know. Okay, but we're talking about costs, guys. Okay, so again, a fixed cost doesn't change. It doesn't depend on the amount of output, how many things you're producing. Variable cost does. Okay, now total cost is variable cost and fixed cost, right? That's just an equation here, but your total cost. So if I'm a company, a firm, and I'm saying my total costs for this month are my variable costs and my fixed costs. So that's just an equation. So we're going to say variable costs plus fixed costs equal total cost. And you know what? Let's take off marginal cost because that's a good thing to know, but you don't need it for this unit, and it might get things a little bit more confusing at this time. So you can scratch off marginal cost. It really is the change in cost. If you produce one more unit, how does your cost overall change? And that gets a little bit more, that's a little bit more advanced than what we're doing right now. Okay. So this is basically what we're doing today. All right. Again, just to say it one more time, your variable costs are production costs that change depending on how many things you're producing, depending on your output level. Okay. So if I have to hire more people, wages, of course, are variable cost, right? The amount of people I hire, maybe I'm giving them some of them raises. Again, wood, materials that you need to use to produce your items. Your materials used will probably change. They'll probably vary depending on how many items you're actually producing, right? Okay, so that's it that we have for terms today. So you can put that baby to rest, okay? All right. And again, we're not turning this in until February 25th when we hit the end of this unit. All right, so now let's do some talking about costs themselves. Let's do some action with them, okay? Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Sorry. Go back to your terms. Sorry about that. Sorry. I don't have these in order. Let's do revenue and profit. Okay, so we're going to skip ahead here, and we're going to go to revenue and profit. Like I said, sorry, I forgot those. I have these in order. So revenue, does anyone know what revenue is? It's what you make, the total amount of money brought in by a firm. Okay, so total revenue, total amount of money brought in by a firm. Total amount. Right. If I have one of those restaurants in the food court, after a day of sales, the money in my cash register at the end of the day, if we're using that, right? If we're using cash, whatever, that's my total revenue of the day. Okay, all the money that was brought in by the day. Okay, profit. Do not confuse this with revenue, my dears. The money a firm has left over after selling its goods goods and services and paying its costs of production. Okay. Remember, variable okay. So revenue, like I said, revenues, if I think at the end of the day or the end of the day, my sales in my restaurant in the food court, what I have in my cash register, that's my revenue for the day. That's the total money brought in, not my profit. Okay. The profit is after I've sold those things and then after I paid off my costs, right? I'd love to think that all that, what's that coming from? I'd love to think that all that money coming into my cash register is mine, mine, mine. However, it isn't because I've got to pay my wages to people. I have other expenses that I have to pay. You don't pay rent every day, but part of that money, if we divide our rent by daily, part of that goes to pay my rent. Okay. To buy my food that I'm using to prepare. What the hell is that noise? Is someone trying to reach me? I don't even know.
There might be people joining the Zoom. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I think I would see more participants there. Maybe they're leaving the Zoom. They're like, hell, fuck. Oh, sorry. I am saying fuck a lot today. Goodness sake, and it's recording. Yes and yes. Okay, so after we pay everything off, that's our profit. That's what I can go out and spend like crazy. Okay. All right. And this, we have a math equation for this one. Total revenue minus total costs equals profit. This is the kind of math we're doing today. Okay. All right, are we good? Now we are officially done with these terms. Now the next part gets a little bit, because there's all of these tables, right? So we're finished with terms to now. Now let's go to day 2, right? Day 2, that's today, cost, profit, revenue for restaurants. We're gonna do a little math. And I said here, not too much math. Maybe you're a math whiz, you're like, this is simple baby math. Well, good for you, help us out. But stick with me for instructions because it can get a little unwieldy, okay, and confusing. So let's look at this. All right. Okay, we've got all this. So we open this up. Oh, how do is there a way I can make this go that way?
Notability.
I have to open it up in Notability? Let's do that. Well, here's the thing, Smarty. I don't use that because I've got like Word and stuff on here. Not that I'm teasing you calling you Smarty, but oh, good God. All right, then. That doesn't. Okay, well, you know what? We're just going to forget this here. Can you turn it on your sides, everybody? Let's try if I can do it this way. And I'm going to download it. Okay, and do this. You can tell I really don't know what I'm doing technology-wise. Well, that helps. All right. Okay, so we've got all these tables, and this isn't going to help me because this damn one's upside down. All right, you make it work so it works for you. Okay?
Are we writing on this?
Yes, you're going to write on this. And I just want to show you what's going on. Just explain these tables. And like I said, stay with me with this one because it can get a little bit of a pain in the neck. So table 1 is our demand for different entrees. So there's our 12 restaurants at the top, okay? And here's the one entree they're gonna serve. That's what's a trial run, okay? So the one entree they're gonna serve. And like I said, bear with me. You know, there's no race to get this finished or anything else. I'm gonna give you plenty of time. I'm already getting pity right here at this too. So there's that. So Taco Villa is gonna, or Taco Villa is gonna make me tacos, right? Wildcats Den, they're gonna do a sub sandwich. Veggie Vittles, veggie sandwich. Home Ec Kitchen, Rita and potatoes. A crab crepe for Fleur de Lis. Bubba's is gonna sell steak. Like, really, is how realistic is this? Sally's will sell salad. Benny's a hamburger. Lemon chicken, they're a prize winner for Hunan Walk. Has anyone gone to the Cleveland Walk? Ever been to the Cleveland Walk in Highlands? Yeah. RIP, right? Now it's a running store. Hunan Walk, the Borscht Palace, remember that delicious, tasty beet soup? Pizza Palace, I don't know if they call it Pasta Palace because they're selling spaghetti, and the roastery is going to sell roast chicken. All right, so if we look at this, and we're going to do more about demand tomorrow. All right, but you'll notice that there are all these prices over here, right? And this is the demand. How many people will want to buy that item at that particular price? Okay, so for instance, if I'm going to use Taco Villa as an example. Say I decided to charge $10 for an entree of my beef tacos entree at the lunch. Like tacos, $10. How many people will want to buy those? Zero. There will be zero demand, right? Why? Too expensive, okay? And you know what? People are thinking even at $7.50, no one wants it. $6, no one wants it. It's not worth it to them, okay? It's not worth it to the average person. I get down to $4 and we figure that 10 people will buy that. I can sell 10 lunches for that, okay? This is just doing some research ahead of time. And this is what we call a demand schedule. At $4, 10 people will want it. If I lower the price just 50 cents at $3.50, 20 people will want it. Okay. $2.50, 50 people will want it. Do you notice that as my price goes down, what goes up? The amount of people that want it, right? Makes sense, right? No one in the hell is going to buy a $10 taco in a food court. Well, maybe the food that our cafeteria is more expensive. Now at 50 cents, everyone's like, what a bargain. 300 people will want to buy that. I'll sell 300 lunches that day. However, will I make a profit? Well, we don't know, okay? So how about this for the steak? Right? One person at $10. When it gets to $5.50, 5 people will buy it. 50-cent steak, they sell their steak for 50 cents. We've got 350 people buying it. Okay. And again, these numbers should go up because the cheaper something is, the more appealing that is to people, right? Makes sense, right? All right, here's one that's kind of interesting though. Ye old Borscht Palace. No matter the price, do you notice? No one is willing and able, okay? When we say there's a demand for it, it means they're willing to buy it and they're able to buy it. No one wants to buy the borscht entree until it's $1. And then 5 people are like, all right, I'll buy it for $1. At 50 cents, only 10 people would be willing to buy that. Okay? No one wants that delicious beet soup. Maybe they're not familiar with it. Okay? So what I want you to, so that's just what that demand schedule is. Okay? Now, I'm going to flip this one. Like I said, I'm sorry, I had to scan these things. This didn't work out for me. All right, so now let's look at the cost data, okay? And remember we talked about fixed costs and variable costs, all right? All right, again, good old Taco Villa, right? For my meat tacos. We have variable costs and fixed costs. What are fixed costs again? It's fixed. It won't change no matter the output, okay? So you'll see fixed cost to rent the stall, to rent my little spot in the food court. It's daily cost of $25, okay? All right, and you'll see, look over here, and look at your screen, this stall rental is $25 for every single restaurant except the home ec kitchen. They're our classmates. That's a home economics department here. That's one of the perks that they get is they don't have to pay for the stall. Okay, every other restaurant has that same daily cost of $25. That's their daily rental, right? Their equipment rental, that's a fixed cost too. It doesn't depend on the production. We need that equipment no matter if we're making 5 bowls of soup or 300 bowls of soup. We need that. Still need to have a stove, right? So again, that's just $5 daily. Again, home ec kitchen gets a break with that. It might be easier for home ec kitchen to make a profit because they don't have that extra cost. However, who wants to buy their lunch? Maybe not many, who knows? All right, so these are the fixed costs, right? Variable costs, again, variable costs, they change, they vary depending on how much output, how much we are making and making, okay? How much of a demand it is. They can go up and down, right? So labor, meaning our wages, per serving, this is kind of interesting. Per serving of meat tacos, I pay 20 cents towards labor. Don't confuse that with 20 cents an hour, anything like that. They just kind of divided this out that for every sale I make, every order of beef tacos, 20 cents goes to labor, okay, to the person making it. All right. Wildcat's Den, only 5 cents per serving. 20, 10 cents, 60. And you'll notice that this varies a little bit. Fleur-de-lis, their crab crepe, there's a lot more. They must pay their workers more money, or they might need more skilled workers, right? Because their charge for labor is 60 cents per entree, right? Home ec kitchen, 10 cents. Not skilled, they're just students. Not just students, but you know what I'm saying, right? And then the rest of them kind of vary, okay? That's per serving, okay? The ingredients per serving, 20 cents for this one, 75 cents for that one. You notice Sally's has a higher cost for labor too. That's a little more labor intensive, like doing all the chopping and things like that. There's more to the work for that. Per serving, here you go. Home ec kitchen, the ingredients, 0.025. So remember, they're getting some pretty cheap food there. Fleur-de-lis, $2.80 per serving. That's their cost per serving, okay? Just for the ingredients. And where's that steak place? Bubba's, $2.20, okay? The roastery is kind of expensive too. Okay. And then, okay. So this is kind of interesting. So what we're going to try to figure out is what the profit, the revenue, and the costs are. Okay. So for instance, if I do Taco Villa, okay, I'm going to do Taco Villa, and there's an equation down here. The revenue is the price times the quantity sold at that price, right? So if I go back to table 1, and I'm doing Taco Villa, right? And I look, let's start with the bottom. At 50 cents, I sell 300. Okay? So some smart whip do 50 cents times 300 for me. Okay? So this would be, my revenue would be 150 right here.
Wait, what table is that? Table 3?
Table 3. The revenue is price times the quantity sold at that price. So remember, at my price of 50 cents, how many did they say they'd sell at the Taco Villa? 300. 300 servings, let's say. Okay. So what am I making for money that day? $150. Kind of get it? So at $1 for Taco Villa, how much do I sell? 200. So 200 times $1 is what? 200. Okay. So put that 200 there in that part. And you'll notice just looking at those two, if I sell them for only 50 cents, my revenue is 150. If I bump that price up to $1, less people want to buy it, but I'm making more money, right? So I'm making $200 then. Okay. So how about this? Why don't you each choose a restaurant? Okay. Choose a restaurant of your choice. Don't do the Borscht Palace because that's a bunch of zeros. Okay. That's kind of like, so choose a restaurant of your choice. And I want you to try to figure out the revenue for that. So just for that one column, you can do Taco Villa, you can do Wildcat Stand, you do Veggie Vittles, whatever you want to choose, and you're going to fill that in. So you're going to go back to the quantity demanded, how, if I sell it at this price, remember? So look over here, if I sell it at 50 cents, how many will people want? How many will people demand? At that price times that demand, I fill that in with revenue. That's how much money I could have in my cash register at the end of the day. So choose one restaurant and try to do the column for the restaurant. Remember in the beginning, for most of these, you have a lot of zeros, right? So to the restaurant of your choice, and let's give you to like 9 o'clock and see what happens with that, okay? And any restaurant you want. And we're just gonna look at those two right now. We're just gonna look at the revenue. And I'll put this table one up here. So if you don't wanna have to go back and forth, if you wanna come and take it up here too, you can do that. All right? Questions, anybody? And I'm just gonna have you turn this in, some of these tables later, just so I can see that you just practice with this, okay? People at home, are you good with this? Do you understand what we're doing?
Yeah.
Get to, I'll be right
Do
over
we
there.
have to do the, daily cost?
We'll do that later, okay? We'll do that later. Right now, we're just gonna do one at a time. So we're just gonna do the total revenue, okay? Like I said, I'll keep this up here if you want to keep looking back at that one. I'm just going to take a little sip of something up here. It just gets a little confusing sometimes with all the tables and the figures. So even if you just want to highlight the column of the one that you're doing so you don't get them confused, that's okay. I just want you to understand the math work of this and to see the relationship. And we'll talk about that. I'm going to use these for a couple of days. And don't worry if you forget the formula to use at the bottom of the table, it'll tell you to. So just try for one of them. And you'll notice it's interesting, right? The consumers, they want to get the cheapest price for their meal. The producers want to sell at the most expensive price they can, where someone will want to buy it, right? So that we're going to try to figure out over the next couple of days where that sweet spot is in the middle. And like I said, you just have to do one. Just do one for one restaurant. And again, just choose one restaurant. Don't try to do them all. That'd be too much. We're just trying to experiment this a little bit.
That's fine. The Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. That's kind of nice because the numbers are close
Yeah.
by each other. And I don't blame you for doing that. All right, if you're done, should we have a little break time?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Let's have a little break time, okay? Let's call it a 5-minute break. People at home, take a 5-minute break. Then we're gonna figure out costs, and then we're gonna subtract the revenue, subtract the cost from the revenue and find out what their profit is. So it's a math kind of a day-to-day with these tables. Take a 5-minute break, my dears. People at home, take a 5-minute break. We'll get together back at 1 minute after 9.
Let's go. Me and Graf, we need to figure that out.
I'm sorry for what? Just one.
Oh, like,
Hey, boy.
like, what? I didn't even know where the hang up are too, and then, yeah, I've only gone over how we want the thing. Or like dates, so like, I should. So,
Miss DeVos. Hello?
I understand the question. Exactly. Like, I understand the purpose of it, but I don't think like, it's like, subject specific. Yeah. So some of the specific cases, you know,
Oh, for sure, honey.
Do you understand this? I cannot and will be, but like. What was it? If worksheet is now, I was, you think, this one has to use that idea, but like I didn't know how to use the other one. Where is this, that, where is that? Yeah. So, okay. Our grants also. Yeah, but that's all we need. No. We did that. Yeah, but it's like, it's driving by, because there's not a spot for it, isn't there? It's pressure, volume, number of moles, that'd be number of moles. Oh, what, isn't it? Yeah. Is that where you multiply by the? That's the mom. Well, this is like, need them more now.
Don't you have a nice rock?
Oh, you're too tall. 6'4", it means tall, but it's not like the average in the age, like it's not. Yeah, it's up to the average person. Average.
What's the average height of a male?
Oh, no, probably,
What about female?
probably 5'4", 5'5".
Average? I think of it as tall, but I'm 5'3". I'm 5'3" and a little bit.
I think 5'5".
5'5".
The average man is just over 5 pounds.
Really?
So I'm above average.
In many ways.
Barely.
In many ways, though. In many ways. It's just height is just one of them.
Yeah, this is a man is 5'7" and a female is 5'2". I think I'm.
In the United States?
I think that's like
Global. Because 5'2", then I'm over average too, but maybe that's a global one. Isn't it interesting that when you look like at a museum and how people have grown over the centuries, like gotten bigger? Like you look at some of the dresses that they used to wear and you're like, excuse me, that was when I was 11.
I don't think I can ever understand how we literally like grew some like monkeys.
And the thing I think that's hard with that is that happened over centuries and centuries and centuries. You know what I mean? Like when we, what's that thing? Like if we think of how long humans have been walking the world, it's like a second in the matter of, if we use that time in the matter of like of centuries or something. So yeah, it is kind of strange. The average is 5'4" for women. So we're almost there, Jenna. Are you kind of, sort of? Yeah, I kind of, it's variable. It's like a cost. It's variable. All right, are we ready to tackle this next one? Because it's a little bit more complicated, everybody. All right, let's do it, Connor. You're such a get such a good attitude. All right, now we're gonna go to, there's my rascally one. We did total revenue for your restaurant. And even if you didn't do the whole thing, you tried, okay? You did a little bit of something. All right, remember that was price times the quantity sold at that price, right? We went to table 1. Now we're gonna look at costs, and this gets a little bit more complicated, okay? We're gonna go back to table 1 and find the amount sold at each price, right? So again, if we go back to table 1 and we use the old Taco Villa, let's do something simple. We sell 100 for $2, right? So that would be 200, I suppose, right? Amount sold at each price. No, we just let's see at the amount sold at each price. So for $2, we sell 100. So remember that one. And then we've got to change my stupid table over here. Oh, that's now still wrong. Okay, then we go over here. Okay, and here's our equation. Oh, it's not on there. Oh, it's on this. Well, it's on the next one. Okay, so we know we sold for $200. We sold 100 for $2. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. We sold 100 tacos, right? Now we've got to multiply that times this. For each, our variable costs for each entree is for Taco Villa is 20 cents plus 20 cents. So we add these two variable costs. All right. No matter what restaurant you choose, you add these two and you multiply it times that entree demanded. Okay. So we'll start with the bottom one. And I know it's really confusing. And I'm probably not making it sound any easier. Let's do this one. Let's look at fleur-de-lis, since that's easier for me. Fleur-de-lis, we're selling one at $10 for $10. Okay. All right. Now we go back down and look at the costs. For fleur-de-lis, our costs per entree are 60 cents plus 280. Okay, so 280 plus 60 is 340 just for our variable costs. So we add 340 to that times 1, right? And that's our, and we're going to put that 340. Actually, let me go back here. Oh my God. Let's see if I can make this. It would really help, DeVos, if you had this table the right fucking way. All right, so we have that multiplied, right? Then we add, don't laugh, Mr. Berry. And then we add this to it, $30. So we have to multiply, we have to first off add our two variable costs, right? We have to multiply those towards one of the numbers in the column demanded. Then with that, we add our fixed cost and we get the price. So and here's this lovely one again too.
I think you lost me.
I know, God fucking, yeah, it's just seriously, let's just look at here. And I get it. I'm losing myself here. I'm perspiring like a crazy person. So we did our total revenue, thank God. Now our daily costs. If you look at this, daily costs, table 4, are computed by multiplying the amount sold at each price for any given restaurant. And again, just choose one restaurant. That information is located in table 1, right? Then we multiply that by the variable costs, the labor and ingredients, and then add that to the fixed cost, the stall and equipment rental, and then we put it in the daily cost over here. So at $10, remember we sold 1. We multiply that 1 by our variable costs,
340.
and then we add the stall rental and the $30. The stall rental's 25, the equipment's 5. And then and that goes here. So again, I'm having a difficult time for a lot of reasons, really. Haven't had enough caffeine. My stupid tables are all over the place. And, well, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But what the main thing I want you to understand here is that the amount, when we're looking at the daily costs, we have to look at the variable costs, remember, and the fixed cost. And those costs are going to change depending how many of these meals we actually make. Okay? Right?
Is it always gonna be 340 every time? It could be the same restaurant, like if we're talking about Florida at least.
Well, the variable costs are going to change depending on the amount of entrees. But you're always going to add that $30.
Oh, that's right.
Okay? But that's the thing. That's where it's tricky. The variable costs are going to change because when you make 2 crab crepes, your variable costs are going to go up. Remember the amount of output, so it makes it go up. So you multiply the amount demanded, the amount of entrees from table 1 for each price. You multiply that times the variable costs.
And then you add.
And then with that final number, you add your fixed cost. And it's a lot of going back and forth, I understand. And don't worry, in a couple of days, I'll actually give you these tables with the numbers figured out. But I have to have you practice first. Mary Kay's like, why didn't you do that now? And please don't worry, I'm not going to look through and grade each one like, oh, you got your math wrong. Basically, what I want you to understand is it is tricky. It is tricky because you've got your variable costs. Remember, they change with the amount of entrees you make. The fixed costs stay the same. So what we're trying to get through to you is that the amount of entrees you make, you had to multiply that by your variable costs. Okay? Those are going to change, but those fixed ones are always going to be plus $30, except for home ec kitchen. So just practice with that a little bit. And again, just one restaurant, please. And sorry, I know I could probably do a better job of explaining this. To me, it would be easier if we had all this on actual paper. Um,
Wait, can't you just keep adding $3.40?
Pardon me?
Wait, what are you guys getting? Oh, let me see yours. Are you doing the
I
same?
have no idea. These are right.
Oh, you're doing taco. Okay, are you doing?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Are you
So-
doing taco one?
Are you doing fleur de lis?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you keep looking at it, it just keeps going up by $3.40.
You know why? Because their numbers are going up by 1, right?
Oh.
Fleur de lis, but then we go bump to 13.
So I can do it up to 11.
Yes, you can. You can.
That's a pattern.
Yeah, good. That's genius. That's genius. And the fact that you're gonna, all I really want you to notice is that there's gonna be these variable costs. And those are changing depending on the amount of entrees, right? So you have to multiply those two. The fixed cost is always gonna be plus 30, right? Except for home ec. You don't, so if you wanna do home ec kitchen, that could be an easy one because you don't have to add the fixed cost to that one. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. But yeah, depending, like for instance, Bubba's, it's a lot of ones there. Some, there's a lot of zeros there, and then it kind of jumps. But yeah, John, way to go noticing a pattern. Smarty.
I'm not doing all that math.
You're doing great. It's confusing. And like I said, I could probably be doing a much better job explaining this. Sometimes I feel like my mind goes faster than I can get it out. Like I'm thinking about it, but maybe I'm not saying it or I'm saying something else. You know what I mean, Drew? No?
My mind doesn't work that fast.
Yeah, and it's still kind of morning-ish, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Morning-ish. So do you have a couple done at least? A couple in your row of restaurants? Well, then heck, let's just move on ahead. And again, I don't want you don't have to finish all of these or finish your row. I just want you to have a couple so you understand what's going on, okay? Now here's the crazy part. It's not that crazy, don't worry. So we've done the total revenue, right? We did the revenue part. We've done the costs, and hopefully you did these for the same restaurants, I'm hoping, but if not, that's all, well, you can do with what we've got. Now we're going to figure out the profit. And remember, what is profit? Revenue minus costs equal profit. All right, my revenue, what I have in my cash register at the end of the day, my costs, after I pay off all my costs, that's my profit, okay? So you've already figured out your total revenue. You've already figured out your daily costs. Take that number from the same column, whatever restaurant you did, say you did Taco Villa, take the number here, right? Subtract the number here, and that's gonna get your daily profit for here.
Dang. So wait, we should have been doing the same restaurant the whole time?
That's okay.
That's tough. I didn't know that.
John, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. John, just write, just on yours, this, put a sad face. Just put a sad face, that's all you need to do. Because you'll never forget that again. And I should have made that clear. It's probably my mistake.
No, it's John.
No, poor sweet John. No, I'm the adult and I'm the teacher. I should know better. We're not going to blame John. He's so adorable. How could you blame the kid? Although, John, this is a new one for you. Because remember the other day you were like the chemistry pro in class and everything else. So, oh, how the mighty have fallen, I want to say. It's a humbling experience. That's all right. So you can see the equation here. Profit is computed by subtracting the total cost from the total revenue at each price for each restaurant, right? So I get my revenue, got my money, pay out my cost, make it rain. Then the last pot of money I have, what's left over is my profit, right? Some of you might find that for some places you don't get a profit or you get a negative profit. Yeah, put the negative number in too, okay? Because if you're getting a negative profit, say poor Josh's restaurant is running a negative profit, he's not going to make any money. Not only that, we're the student council. We get a percentage of your profits. We don't want your restaurant there, Josh, if we're getting zero profits, right? No offense to Josh, he'd probably have a very successful restaurant and feel it. Okay? And like I said, I'm going to show you the completed tables. We're going to look at how they vary. And again, we're going to try to find that sweet spot, right? Where the restaurant is still making a profit and there's still a good amount of people. The sweet spot where there's a nice amount of people buying it for a certain price, and then where a restaurant can still make a profit. And then we're going to see if that makes it a good, viable restaurant for our food court. All right. This was confusing, especially for a first hour thing.
Wait, for the last table, you just add the two, table 3 and table 4?
Not Adam.
Subtract them?
Oh, honey.
See,
John, what happened?
I don't know.
Is this your alter ego?
Economics is not the move.
That's okay.
It's the only class I'm doing.
Yeah, I can do a lot better, so.
I don't know what they're doing in AP Econ. That's a 2-trimester class. It makes me really scared because I can basically teach this level. Anything over that, I'm like, I got to do some studying to do. So remember I told you, took Econ my first semester in college and got a D. I didn't go to class, but still, mistake. I took it again and got a B minus. Don't worry, Drew. Don't worry. I'm still, they do think I'm, they do think I'm qualified, but isn't that funny? And you know what? Mr. McGuire, we all love Mr. McGuire, right? He has a master's in economics. They won't allow him to teach econ here because doesn't have a social studies license. Meanwhile, they have this kid teaching it.
No, wait, let me see it.
The numbers are gonna, and
That's
you
what
might,
I got. Oh, yeah, we're good. I figured it out.
yeah, John, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. It's okay. You have kind of made some boo-boos, but that's all right. So what do you notice from your, does anyone getting negative numbers in the profits?
I just got 0 and 1, 0.
Which restaurant was that? The taco one. At one point, did it get to be 0? Right, that's too cheap, right? That's too cheap. They're not gonna make that much. Did anyone try a different restaurant besides Taco Bell? Yeah.
I did, I tried the last one and I got like -13, -12, -18.
And the last one was the roastery.
Yeah, but I didn't get all the way to the bottom.
That's okay. That's okay. But the roastery, if we look at that one though, and here's my ridiculous this thing. Ugh. Why is that one so bad? If we look at the roastery, they have really high costs. Okay, right? Everyone's got this $30 fixed cost except for home ec kitchen, right? But the roastery one, their ingredients are really expensive. $2.15. I think they've got some of the most expensive ingredients. It's even more expensive than Bubba's. No, Bubba's steak is, oh yeah, and the fleur de lis. So you'll notice roastery, Bubba's, and fleur de lis have really expensive ingredients. And they also might have more expensive labor to go with that, right? They might need to have some skilled grill master doing the steaks. Okay, that they will, at those lower prices, they're not going to make any money, right? Their costs are far greater than the revenue that they'll get in, right? Especially at that price. So that wouldn't be a reasonable price for them. Okay, so for them to make a profit, they'd have to go up a little bit higher. But then we had to think, yeah, but how many students are willing and able to buy that at that price too? All right. I know it was confusing today, and I get it. We will have the completed tables to you, so then we can see how things are varying and why they're varying and things like that. I just wanted you to do a little bit of this math just to understand and bring home that variable costs change, right? That's going to change depending on how many entrees you're selling or making that day. Okay, those fixed costs are going to stay the same. And profit is after you get your total revenue, you pay off your total costs, then you have your profit. And be kind to John because he's having a bad day. Teasing, I'm such a teaser. All right, so we're done.
Turn this in.
Yeah, turn it in. I just want to see that you tried something, okay? Just want to see that you tried. People at home, just wanted to see that you tried. And I know it's hard when you're at home trying to understand what's going on. If you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to come see me. I know my flex time is for 9th and 10th grade because I deal with value students most of the time and they need help. And that's not coinciding with your flex time, but I'm always here after school. I stay kind of late after school. I kind of come roaring in here a little bit late, but I stay late. So if you ever need any help, don't be shy, okay? All right, we're done. Zoomers, leaving the call, just turn in what you have. It doesn't have to be finished. Don't worry, I just wanted you to try something, okay? And I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Isn't that weird?
No.
I mean, it's nice, but Connor, I do kind of, I only get to see your face once a week. Give a girl a break. I mean, sad for me sometimes.
Yeah. Something group presentation. Yeah. Oh, I just got.
Bye, people at home.
I have an accent.
Bye, have a good